Interesting.
I think that's it.
All right,
All
cool.
right. I
So
need a comb.
you weren't camera ready for this.
Why you gotta say that?
You're yourself saying it. You needed a comb.
Oh, there's I mean, I don't think we can hear him right now, but we have effects now.
Oh, what kind of effects?
You wanna grab a headset?
These bad boys.
No, the other one.
God dang it! I have to say, this new studio is very fancy.
Ain't it though?
Okay.
Isn't it lovely? Oh yeah.
I apologize to people who might have actually joined at this point. Oh, hello, everybody. We're still getting set up. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, we're going to be a little bit more professional. Well, not more professional, but the image is going to look better on there. It's kind of like a weird, we're looking down on you like we're God on the Instagram feed. YouTube channel has some, it's got Andy's fancy equipment here. It makes it look like, this isn't just some thing run out of somebody's garage.
First time in the new studio.
All right, so I can hear my effects if I listen to it this way?
Yeah.
I don't hear anything right now.
Hold on. Well, it's mixed minus, I think. Hang on. This is all tangled.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started talking then while you figure this out,
Wait.
okay?
Let me ask you the question.
Ask me the question.
I forgot what the question was for this episode. Hang on, let me remember.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Who's my favorite super?
Yeah.
I can hear you. You
can hear me?
Oh, wait. You're number 2. Yeah, you should be able to hear.
I can hear now, yeah.
Okay, yeah. My favorite superhero?
Yes.
I really like Batman.
Is Batman your favorite superhero?
I'm pretty sure Batman has always been my favorite superhero.
It's like since you were a little Andrew Montoya.
Since I was a youngin', yeah.
Yeah, since you were a little boy.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think that there was a time, my favorite superhero group has always been the X-Men collectively, but individually, I've never really had one of them be my standout favorite. I've had my favorite X-Men, but as far as solo superhero, as far as the person, whose comic books I'm picking up, as far as the television show that I'm watching of an individual's adventures, I'd have to agree with you. I'd have to say Batman is my favorite superhero. In fact, I actually have a Batman tattoo on my arm. I don't know if, depending on which camera, the YouTube channel, you can kind of look at it. It's a bat symbol.
It says, "Why does wet fall?"
Why doth we fail?
Oops. Sorry.
Really? Thank you.
That was my bad. You kept moving.
Got a second
Hey,
drink.
you got more than I did. That's not fair.
Got a shot glass in my hand just now. Oh, wow, green label. Nice. I'm going to lick my hand now.
Pinky! Yeah, Batman has always been my favorite superhero. And I really like, there was 2 things that I really like about him. One is his tech.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that he uses gadgets to solve a lot of his problems. And then I also really love that he's a superhero that doesn't have superpowers.
Sure.
That's, human nature, sheer force of will. If you want to be a superhero, then just be one.
The nerdy kid in me always identified with the fact that Batman was supposedly really intelligent. Like that's one of his gifts to he's the world's greatest detective. He has the superior intellect. I think that even like one of the Justice League 3000s back in the 90s, whenever they ran all these mega events to try to boost comic sales, to try to save the failing industry, not failing, but financially failing industry.
Yeah. Man, the comics have been failing for like ever.
They're on a bit of an upswing right now.
Yeah.
I'm not personally seeing any of that, but I am contributing to that upswing.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
wait. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's do a plug. Shameless plug.
A shameless plug?
Let's do a shameless plug.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about?
So you recently have published your first episode,
my first
issue of a comic.
I am a comic book writer officially now. I mean, I did an anthology before, but yeah, I am now a comic writer, dubbed writer / creator, co-creator of the Hallowed North comic book series, dark fantasy, horror, weird.
Now I read
story.
it.
You read it.
I read it.
Did you read it?
I needed to read it a couple of times actually.
Okay.
Because it's a very particular world. It seems like there's a lot of There's a lot of world building that's missing in just the first issue but is really intriguing. It's like watching Pitch Black. Remember that movie Pitch Black? There was a lot of world building in that movie, but they didn't really tell you anything. You just picked up little hints of that. Oh, this isn't just like future whatever. There's a lot going on here.
So there's the hope that, and yeah, that's the unfortunate side effect of having to take the book and chop it down into individual segments, because eventually we're going to have six parts in total to make up the one Hallowed North graphic novel. For financial reasons, since this was my first crowdfunding project, and I didn't have the
and it went off swimmingly.
Yes, it went really well.
8 hours, and you met your goal.
Met my goal in 8 hours.
Nice.
The goal was to just print the physical copy of the comic. I wasn't looking to fund any of the art production or anything like that. But with how well it did, I think we went 350% over funding. It hit it went pretty high.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson high, I'd say. That's an overused joke, but went really well. I'm very fortunate. I don't know that I would die for every one of my followers, but I would certainly kill for them. Not followers, backers, whatever you want to call it. But the downside to breaking up the book into 6 different parts is that, yeah, there's a lot of ask that I have of the audience in that first issue, because now that it's not told in one cohesive story, or one story that, you can pick up off the shelf and just read start to finish, I'm having to ask of you as the reader, please, hold on.
So I don't think that's necessarily a downside. I think that's because I'm intrigued. I want to read the next issue, and I'm willing to also back the next issue. So, but it's kind of so it's funny because like in this day and age where we have most shows that are uploaded, an entire seasons at a time, and you can just burn through them. It's whenever there is a very low quality of work, like I think The Boys season 2 would have benefited from being uploaded all at once, so you couldn't start taking it apart and realize it's a very inferior season for the first season. But whenever you have something that's of high quality, it's a lot easier to stew on something that's good than something that's bad. It's just I disagree. I think I'm very intrigued to read the next issue.
Well, I appreciate that. So yeah, there was, if you had read the original draft of the first issue that I did, as I wrote it into parts. The original graphic novel, I wrote it into parts, like this was always going to be part 1. So that's the good thing. The good thing was taking that from the graphic novel format and then separating it into these individual standalone issues. It wasn't that big of a task, but I did have to go back in there and add a more solid ending for the first issue, even though it ends on a cliffhanger.
Those last 2 or 3 pages were fantastic.
Thank you.
They were
Yeah,
fantastic. I'm going to share us on Facebook real quick.
Yeah. The first issue was the other problem that I had going into the first issue, or the other concern that I had going into the first issue was, since I felt like this was the one to build the exposition to set the stage for what's to come, I was worried that it was going to be too boring, because yes, it is a dark fantasy story. Yes, it is a horror story. And while you see some of that horror, you don't really get to see the more fantastical elements yet in it. It is more of a slice of life with some weird crap going on too. But it's coming. The dragons and the White Walkers are coming. I swear they're gonna be here any minute now. But the second issue picks up, and already the second issue is I believe, I want to say it's 10 pages longer than the first one. I tried to edit it down more to a traditional standard 22-page comic book length. Couldn't do it. There's too much necessary to the plot that could not be removed from it. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sharing it. I'm looking forward to seeing people's reactions to the art pages that that we're putting together for it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too.
But we're not here to talk about Hallowed North. Thank you for the shameless plug.
You got it.
But we're JaneWrites.com. JAYNEJN.
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
JaneWrites.com. Buy Hallowed North, digital or physical. There are still physical copies available. All right, now shameless plug over. Continue.
I remember the question.
The question was,
when does a superhero start acting counterintuitive to what he's trying to accomplish?
okay, so I'm trying to remember the format of our show. This is where I answer that question, at least off the top of my head.
Off the top of your head.
I would think after that superhero is failing to see the results of their efforts. I think anybody is kind of like that at first. So let's say me with making my comic book. If I make my comic book, I put it out there, and I'm trying to flex my creative muscles and potentially even bring awareness to this to this issue that's prevalent. And I'm struggling with making any headway. Nobody's reading it, or if people are reading it, they're telling me it's crap. I feel like there might come a point where I'm frustrated with what I'm sowing. Very good. Excellent.
If you're not on Instagram, watch us on YouTube, please.
Yeah, because now apparently we have
sound effects.
Humiliating sound effects.
I'm gonna try as hard as possible not to overdo them. Yes, if you're watching on Instagram, please watch on YouTube, or don't. Do what you like. But yeah, and I think that question is one of the things that the movie The Batman tries to answer, and I think that it's. So I really like obviously there's themes in Christopher Nolan's movies, defined by single words. Like the first one is about fear, the second one is about chaos, and the third one is about pain. But even though that they're pushed thematically by those three words, there's not. I wouldn't say there's something as meaningful that they're trying to figure out and accomplish, like the way that the Batman was trying to figure out that question.
I think the biggest, I think the biggest thread that you find in the Nolan trilogy is just this idea of whether or not Batman is actually good for Gotham, or if he's doing more harm than good. And we see that with the way Two-Face kind of deteriorates both physically and metaphorically within the Dark Knight. We see him being villainized, or we see Batman being villainized at the end of it and having to go into hiding. I think you're right. I don't think that it is the overarching question, but it is not what's actually driving the plot. Like I feel like this is just a bunch of superhero in a real world stuff happening that happens to circle back to this really more in dialogue more than anything else. Like it's an example of tell not showing, I think, more.
I have started to really enjoy, I guess in my 30s, I've really started to enjoy dialogue driven films. Whereas in my 20s, I liked a lot more action-driven films.
So when I say that, I don't mean in the sense that there's more, action taking place on screen. I don't want the message of the film to only come from words written, words written between two characters, speaking between two characters. That doesn't otherwise, hold up in the rest of the story.
Right. There's good synergy between both. Wait, we're still talking about the Batman, right?
No, right now I thought we were talking about the Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh, whoops. Okay, so we're still talking about the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and James Gunn, as much as I love James Gunn's work, he is.
I didn't care for Peacemaker.
You didn't like Peacemaker?
It was fine, but it was very, very James Gunn. Probably to a fault.
And maybe this is the same line that I'm going down. The problem with James Gunn's work, as much as I love his work, is that it is too on the nose with its message, and it literally has the characters speak the, speak the thesis out to you, or not the thesis, but the main idea
I
out
hate
to you.
exposition dumps whenever, yes, exactly that. They spell out the entire point of what they're trying to get across.
Yeah. And even so, it's not even just exposition sometimes. He does it in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where we have that song at the very beginning, the Brandy, You're a Fine Girl song at the very beginning, which is about the sailor who is, comes to port and hooks up with Brandy, but whenever he goes back out to this, his love is the sea, the adventure, not this girl. And he has Ego, the villain in that movie, say those words verbatim, quote the song verbatim, and it's like at that point, any subtlety that we had
with just playing the song, it's all gone.
I mean, we already get it. We already got it. We already had the idea. Trust the audience to actually gather or to make that conclusion, because you did it. You brought us there. Trust the audience to stick the landing for you rather than spoon feed it to us, which is what I feel the Dark Knight trilogy does too, with their you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain, or see yourself become the villain, or whatever the quote is.
I forgive that line just because it was in the trailer. So it was kind of also spelling out what you were in for. I don't know.
But then there's also some...
I love the Nolan movies. I know a lot of people have their issues with them, especially the third one. I love them.
On rewatches, I actually like the third one more than the second one.
I never disliked the third one. I really like the third one.
The second one, I feel, and if anybody's watching, this is probably gonna, ruin any Batman cred that I have. The second one, I feel like, is overrated.
Is anybody watching? What?
I feel like the second one's overrated.
How so?
I feel like Heath Ledger's Joker is amazing. He does really well in it. I feel like he's the only reason why people actually care so much about it. What's his name? Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah.
That's the actor's name.
I thought he did a great Two-Face.
I'm not questioning the actors themselves, except for Christian Bale's, bat voice.
I don't want to go over.
This city just showed you that it can still believe in good. At that point, drop it. You're fighting with the clown. You're out of breath. You're on the roof of a city.
But you can see it in his mouth too. It's not just
For good. In good.
He sticks. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of The Sandlot when he's like forever.
But besides, the acting is good. There is nothing technically wrong from cinematography, from acting, from sound score. I mean, Hans Zimmer on the score. The films are technically flawless until you start breaking apart the plot points. We're supposed to believe that Aaron Eckhart, that Harvey Dent is this white knight of Gotham, that he's so good and so incorruptible. I feel like they rushed his character development a little too much.
Well, if he was, his nickname wouldn't have been Harvey Two-Face in law school, or whatever that time period was.
But again, that is just a throwaway line. We're not actually shown that.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, this whole idea about the guy who doesn't have a plan having literally all the plans in the world.
And the most loyal followers whom will execute this plan to a precise T.
Additionally, yeah, that's true. Kill everybody, and without questioning whether or not you're going to end up dying too down the road as soon as your part's done.
And having the explanation be, well, they're psychopaths.
True. The only other issue that I really have with it is I feel like there was a lot of sacrifice to be made to try to make this a grounded, realistic comic book movie. Take this hero and make him work in the real world somehow. That the objective absurdity of Batman feels kind of shoehorned, and it still seeps through. And
do you think it seeps through in the Batman?
Yes, but I think it's embraced in the Batman.
Because Matt Reeves wanted to...
Are we ready to move on to the Batman?
Maybe, but...
Okay.
Matt Reeves wanted to make 100% as realistic as possible of a Batman movie. Like if Bruce Wayne had existed and had that life in real life, what would that look like? And I think that so one of the things that I've heard people point out, which I find interesting, is how we don't really actually get to see a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie.
I kind of love it. I'm all for it, especially that Bruce Wayne.
I like it, and well, I like that Bruce Wayne. But this is definitely still kind of proto Batman, where before he adopts the Bruce Wayne persona, because you could just tell, like all the time, he's very angry.
Yeah,
all the time.
So, segueing fully into the Batman, I'm ready to talk about the Batman.
You want to talk? Or you don't want to go over the results?
The results? Oh, sure.
Let's go over the results real quick before we get into the nitty gritty.
Well, we only had time for 2 polls leading up to tonight.
That's fine.
I wanted to do a few more. I wanted to go into deeper depth and like our favorite rogues gallery villain and our favorite sidekick. Is it going to be Robin? Is it going to be Nightwing, Batgirl, who so and so?
That'd be a lot.
I wanted to get into the scores, like who was better, Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer.
Who scored this movie?
Michael Giacchino.
I think this movie had the best score.
Yeah, dude, I gotta show you what I scored. Scored regarding the score. Do you get it?
Wait. Ah! Please watch on YouTube. You're missing out.
Okay. So Mondo Entertainment released these, and we need to be able to share this stuff one day. Released the score on vinyl, 3-disc vinyl.
That's really
sold out within 3 minutes. I managed to get one, and they were already on eBay for friggin' $1,000.
How much
I'm
did you get it
keeping
for? $50. That's it.
$50.
Wow, they left money on the table.
Yeah, because they absolutely could have charged people 70, 80
You should take really high quality like 3D scans and sell them as NFTs. I'm not even joking. They'll sell. Yeah, bring them over. Let's do that. Actually, we both have new iPhones, so that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
I really enjoyed the score of this movie. It has a driving theme throughout it, the dum 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 dum, but that goes like all through it.
Yeah.
And the variations that come from that. The Batman theme, I don't know if you've listened to the release at all. I've kind of had it on repeat over the past few days. Really good, really evocative. Danny Elfman's, I think, is more iconic. You know, the dun 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 dun. You know that one.
That was really good.
Thank you. But I no choir lessons whatsoever.
You weren't in choir in school?
Nope.
Okay.
Were you in choir?
6th grade.
Ah.
Yeah, we were terrible. My dad came up after a show one time. God bless him. He was like, "Yeah, what? I couldn't hear y'all. Was everything like? Was it supposed to sound like? I couldn't hear y'all at all." I was like, "I'm not gonna be in choir next year."
So you went to orchestra, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to orchestra.
Which I'm sure we sounded so much better in orchestra.
Probably.
So I don't remember. I heard like a neighbor kid or saw a video of somebody practicing or something. I can't remember what it was, but I heard some kid playing the violin, practicing the violin at home. And if my mom is listening right now, I just want to apologize. I'm issuing a public apology to my mom right now, and any nearby bystanders who happen to hear me practice all throughout my childhood. My grandpa's dead. It's probably what killed him, after years of hearing it. Either that or the years of asbestos. We don't know for sure which it was.
It's hard to say. Both just as lethal.
But, they sound awful, and I'm really glad my daughter has not shown any interest so far in orchestra.
Even though just likes jumping off of things, so.
Yeah, that's how John is too. This boy is afraid of, like, Luigi's Haunted Mansion, like a video game. You ever played Luigi's Mansion or ever see the game of it? It's like Luigi from Mario Brothers is a Ghostbuster.
Mm-hmm.
He's terrified of playing that game. He wanted me to get it. I got it. He's terrified of it. But he has no concept of actual physical danger. Like, he will jump off of high tables. He will jump off of whatever, like at the playground, 6 feet up in the air. And yet, for a little ghost. He's horrified. I've shown him videos, and probably shouldn't. I've shown him videos of parkour and stuff like that, and he's gotten really into it and really obsessed with it.
I haven't shown Caleb parkour videos yet.
We went to Space Center 6 months ago or so, and Space Center Houston, and they had a parkour track set up, like an obstacle course, and he ran through it like 10 times. He's obsessed with it. He's going to be one of those people who records videos on like a skyscraper doing flips and crap off.
When Caleb's 5, we can enroll him into a parkour school. We want to do that. So who won the Batmobile challenges?
The Batmobile challenge. So let me take you through the process. So at the very beginning of, I don't remember who, we lost the animated series Batmobile, which was a bummer because I'm really a big fan of everything that came out of the animated series. But that Batmobile lost out to the Burton Batmobile. The Pattinson Mobile beat out the Pattinson Batmobile lost out to the Dark Knight's Tumbler.
I love the Pattinmobile.
The Pattinmobile. I love the Pattinmobile since seeing it in action.
Or Pattinson Mobile.
Whenever I saw the Pattinson Mobile.
The Pattinson Mobile.
Whenever I saw the original release still of the Batmobile, I was looking at it. I was just bummed out. Like I remember other things happened that day too. I was like, this is really just shaping up to be a terrible day. But after seeing it in the trailer and seeing it in the film, like that car chase scene is probably one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's my favorite Batmobile for sure. But it lost out to the Tumbler.
And I like the Tumbler. Whenever it first came out, I loved the Tumbler.
The Tumbler to me never really felt like a Batmobile. The Tumbler to me never really felt like a Batmobile.
I feel that way now.
Especially whenever you compare it to its brethren. Now, I get it though. I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to make this, the realistic Batman at the time.
I think they could have done it better.
But going with a militarized tank and paint, does it come in black? Painting it black or getting a black version of it or whatever he did. Seeing it in action in Batman Begins was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But and I guess the thing that I like about the Nolan trilogy is it really wasn't a toy commercial, because and when I say that is we didn't get a lot of variations on the suit. We got the change between the first and the second one strictly because they needed more mobility in the character.
Yeah.
But
actually they needed more mobility in the actor too. Apparently that change was because he couldn't turn his head whenever he was in the suit.
Which was apparently a common problem to every Batman prior to him too, except for maybe Adam West.
Well, as Robert Pattinson said, he loves his Batman suit. He was able to fully articulate.
Yeah.
He started doing cartwheels in the suit, and they were like, "Oh, well, let's just work that into the movie. Something, let's work that physicality into the movie." He said it backfired on him.
So, I wanted some sort of evolution of the Tumbler. We never got it.
I hated the Nolan film's Bat Cycle.
Oh, the fact that it just shoots out of the tumbler.
I didn't have a problem with that actually. I just hated the way it looked. I hated the design. So I was a real big fan of Final Fantasy, one of the movies.
The Spirits Within, Advent Children.
I watched that movie as a kid.
I loved Spirits Within when I was a kid.
I didn't get it as a kid, but I knew that I just felt ungodly depression after it, which is what it wants you to feel. But no, Advent Children, and I love Cloud's motorcycle. I would have loved to see something more
those
like
massive
that as
wheels on it.
No, well, it has
Is that
two
the one
wheels
where he
in the front.
lays?
It has two wheels in the front.
The
Bat Cycle in the Nolan films has massive wheels.
That's right, but they can turn sideways and stuff. Right?
Well, they can go, and so yeah. But anyways, I hated that as much as I love those films. I hated that design.
Okay. What else do you got? Show me some of your other buttons you got.
Well, it has a theme song right here.
We have a theme song.
Tweety Birds. Yeah. Well, I mean, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're having a band in Jeremiah.
Special guest, Johnny Walker Green label.
And then, the horror thing. And then, wait. Yeah, hand clapping, drum beat, and then
Are they customizable?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I literally just fired this thing. I've had it for a while, but I just fired it up.
It's very nice.
Yeah, I like it. I like
Fancy.
it. Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah, Rodecaster Pro.
Rodecaster
Fantastic
Pro.
piece of equipment. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty. We talked about the winners and losers, right? Ultimately, who won out was the animated series, right?
No.
No?
Who won out was the Burton verse. The Burton.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
The Burton Mobile.
The Burton Mobile one, which
Keaton Mobile.
has a very classic car look to it. It's probably the most iconic Batmobile that I know of anyway. Maybe the '60s one, but it could also just be the demographics of my page.
Why didn't you add the Batman and Robin one? That thing's hideous.
The
so
one that
ugly.
looks like it's
So ugly.
the one that looks like it's got
Stop it.
It's made for the ice machine.
Kid friendly show.
The Iceman cometh. Is this a kid-friendly show? I always mark it that it's not a kid-friendly show.
I mean, it's probably not. That's just to give us the flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
In
I
case
mean,
we
it's
wanted
obviously
to
not a kid-friendly show.
drop.
This is Apple Juice Children. So back to the question. When a superhero starts getting in the way he's going about things starts getting in the way of what he's actually trying to accomplish. I really love that this movie does a deep dive into what that means. And they do it with kind of like, so that the part in the trailer, I like the meme whenever, of Joey from Friends, he's sitting like this. And then he goes like that. And it was like, oh, he's going to say I'm Batman. And he says, I'm vengeance. So I really like that wasn't just something kind of gimmicky. That was 100% about the themes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took a single note for this here. And
That's actually kind of over preparing for you.
I know it really is, but it's just after watching it, and I missed the actual part where the car crashes into the funeral. I got a work call.
Yeah, you missed that.
I got a work call, so I need to watch it again. But what I think that the movie kind of boils down to is that self-righteousness plus entitlement equals vengeance. That seems to me the distillation of what the character is going through.
Elaborate. Expand on that.
So there's the dichotomy between the Riddler. Spoilers. 100% spoilers.
Oh yeah. Spoilers.
If you haven't seen it.
If you have seen the Batman or have not seen the Batman, go away. No, don't go away because like we've only got 3 people watching the show right now.
Just get real cool about a lot of things real fast.
Just mute us, but please don't drive down our engagement.
So there's the dichotomy between the Riddler and Batman. They're both orphans. One was an orphaned, ultra-rich person. The other one was an orphan in an orphanage. An orphan
poor?
Yeah, an orphan poor. An orphan indigent, if you
My
will.
least favorite kind of orphan, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I hate orphan. Man, what happened to Jared Hess? Come back. Make another film, please. And it really shows like they both perceive things in a way where they feel like, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
What are you laughing at?
Good. The Jared Hess line.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was hoping you were laughing with me, or not at me.
Yeah, I'm laughing with you.
So, thanks, man.
Anyway,
I really like that. How do I succinctly put this?
Oh.
They are both going about things in almost the same way. They're going about things differently.
I was gonna say it's pretty different how they're doing.
They're doing it differently. However, because they're almost following the same. They're following the same motivations. So that means that they're not actually helping, because Bruce Wayne is not. The whole film, even the beginning, he's talking about how he doesn't even know if what he's doing is actually making a difference, but he's going to keep going. And the Riddler starts doing. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Say something. The Riddler is going to start doing what he is doing, almost as if he's inspired a little bit, probably by Batman. And because they're both doing it out of anger, and they feel entitled to be doing it, that seems to be the through line between them saying that they're doing this in vengeance. And I think the important part of that is vengeance is not yours to take. Vengeance is something that is likely existential to who you are and what you can accomplish in a positive way. And I really like that this film is very solid, and everything that it tries to do kind of really keeps in line with that fact, because there's a big difference between whenever Batman is in the shadows, doing what he's doing, not making a difference, acting on behalf of vengeance, and between that and him carrying a torch and leading people out of the darkness.
So we have a question. Chef Bry Scott says, do you think that this is what may evolve this Riddler into Hush, his vengeance? Are you familiar with the Hush character?
A little bit. And I know that there was a lot of things about Hush, and it seems like that they are going that way. I think that, I think because one of his followers solidifies that theme whenever one of his followers says, I'm vengeance. Mm-hmm. And that kind of solidifies the theme. So I think that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Honestly, I didn't even think about the Riddler turning into Hush. I just thought more of the Riddler and Hush being still two separate. Maybe the Hush being a different orphan from the same orphanage. What do you think?
I don't know enough about Hush to comment on it.
I need to learn more about Hush.
I need to learn more about Hush as well. Oh. I heard that the only thing that I know about Hush is that the comic and the animated movie are there's a pretty big switcheroo at the end that people were not happy with who had read the comic. And in the animated, I think it is in direct relation to I think it is in direct relation to the Riddler's identity and how he plays into it. I think it turns out that the Riddler is Hush in disguise or something like that.
Mm. I don't like I wouldn't like that for me, just because I like characters being those characters. I like if I have Hush, I want to see Hush. If I have the Riddler, I want to see the Riddler. And I still don't really feel like we've gotten a genuine Riddler. I feel like this movie did with the Riddler what the Dark Knight did with the Joker. Heath Ledger's portrayal is amazing, but it's not really the Joker. Paul Dano's portrayal is amazing, but it's not really the Riddler.
Sure.
I think.
Well, there's, in the DC's multiverse, there are a wide variety of takes on the characters, and I'd have to agree that when it comes to the mainstream Joker that everybody imagines, no, absolutely not. Heath Ledger's Joker is not there. Neither is Jared Leto's.
We don't talk about Leto. No.
There is a serial killer Riddler in one of the, I think it's like Earth 2, I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody will jump down my throat if I'm wrong. But I agree with you. I get what you're saying. When people actually think of the Riddler and what their idea of the Riddler is, Paul Dano is absolutely not there. But that does come from what Matt Reeves is trying to do. He's trying to take these characters and be like, whoa, what if they, existed in this particular universe?
I think there's a wide gulf between a realistic Riddler portrayal and what Paul Dano did with the character. He did amazing, and I wouldn't change it.
Could you take a realistic, guy in a green suit with the top hat and the cane and everything? Could you take that seriously in the real world, though, in this Batman movie?
So are you familiar with Nostalgia Critic?
No.
He actually rewrote Batman Forever script.
He rewrote it.
Envisioning, what's it?
There a reason why you have me out of focus on the YouTube channel?
We're both fuzzy because on there it's not. I mean, what do you want from me, man?
I'm just messing with you. Stop.
He re-envisioned the movie, rewrote the script with Robin Williams as the Riddler.
What is happening, Possums from Zoe, is that we are talking about the Batman. Well,
just got
welcome
off work.
And potentially goodbye if you wave off.
You just got off of work. That's horrible. Are you a nurse?
No.
Okay. You don't have to answer that. Just that sucks.
Protect your internet identity. Don't.
Yeah, just thinking out loud. Don't dox yourself.
Yeah, don't give people.
Is that to us or somebody else?
That's to Zoe, who just joined.
Hey, babes, how are you doing? I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Allow them to. Look, as long as they stay on the chat, we're fine. They can talk to whoever they want.
Do whatever y'all like, darlings.
By the way, if y'all want a better view and to hear sound effects that Andy's playing, you can join us on YouTube. The link is in my bio.
Sound effects? I didn't mean to press it that time.
The people on Instagram aren't hearing that, though.
I know.
But anyway.
We're going to start streaming to Instagram, probably.
Just mainly to Instagram?
That seems to be where the party's at.
But anyway, no, I couldn't personally. I couldn't take the Riddler as his direct comic interpretation seriously. There's a lot of characters that I really couldn't though, either. But I feel like that's okay that we get this alternative take on him, this serial killer take on him, and
I like it.
I enjoy it. When you mention that this particular version of Joker isn't really a comic book accurate version of Joker. That's how I feel whenever we look at like Ben Affleck as Batman or George Clooney as Batman or Michael Keaton as Batman. Or
you think so? Okay, and I'll say like probably, because I remember walking out of that movie feeling like this was the definitive Batman movie.
So Ariel Uribe says, my first and only Batman movie was this newest one with R-Pat.
Look, I got some flack for defending Robert Pattinson's casting. That's just because a lot of people stopped keeping up with him after Twilight. What Robert Pattinson did was actually pretty respectable and commendable, I think. And so he knew he wasn't a good actor. He didn't like the movies he was in. He was kind of stuck in his contract. He hated the fandom. Well, hate might be a strong word, but he was no fan of the fandom. So he went away. He did very small roles. He honed in his craft, and he became an incredible actor.
He did it really well in the Batman. He's my favorite Batman. Gonna go on record right now. Robert Pattinson is the definitive Batman.
What did I tell you? I told you.
And he also
probably on this podcast, maybe.
He also won the best Bat costume on the poll.
I love his costume.
Yeah, it's another one though that took a while for me to warm up to. Whenever I first saw it, I got what they were going for, but I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a very homemade costume.
Yeah,
but I like it, and in the world that the film shows, it makes sense. Big fan of it, 100%. I want to see more Batman. I want to see more the Batman.
Yeah,
I want to see more. I want Robert Pattinson's the Batman to be the start of a Batverse.
So a long time ago, during this podcast, we talked about like the big differences between the MCU and DC and how horrible DC was doing at trying to recreate what the MCU was doing. And in that podcast, we talked about how they needed to go to more just self-contained stories, like the way that the DC comic book franchise has been going or had been going. And it seems like they're doing a great job at that, at least with the Batman, with Joker, with any others. Yeah, at least
the Suicide Squad's a good movie.
The Suicide Squad, which is essentially its own story.
Yeah, it's in the DCEU, but it's
technically okay. I hated the Avengers cameo, or sorry,
the Justice League cameo.
Yeah, the Justice League cameos and Peacemaker.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't care for them.
Why?
I don't know. It was just kind of dumb. It was just dumb, and maybe I would have liked him if they actually were able to get the other actors. But you're like, oh, you were the only two who cared to show up at all. This is obviously like it just made it seem low budget.
Would it have been better if those two didn't show up either?
Yeah, if none of them showed up, it would have been better.
No, I mean if we only had like the silhouettes of all four of them.
Maybe it would have been better.
So the only two that are actually filming their movies right now are those two.
There's an Aquaman 2 coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
Coming out. It was coming out at the end of the year. They pushed
care.
it to next year. Did you watch the first Aquaman?
I'm actually I don't know if I care. Yes, I did. I don't know if I care about any of the DCEU stuff
to watch them.
And I don't know if I care about any more of
They're making progress. Did you ever see the first Shazam?
Yeah, I liked it.
It's good.
But I'm a huge fan of David S. Sandberg.
Ooh, I watched the newest Joker. Does that count? That does not technically count as your first Batman movie. I'm sorry. It's hard to imagine. Wait, what are you thinking about it? You thinking if that counts as a Batman movie?
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
it counts as a Joker movie.
And also another very different Joker interpretation too.
Yeah.
Unless we're specifically looking at like the Killing Joke Joker, who gives us our bad day view and stuff like that. Although he has a family, and this Joker is not mentally stable enough to have a family. Or to even establish a relationship with somebody.
Who's to say? So let's go back to the Batman. So what themes about it did you enjoy? Did you feel like it was trying to like really hit home on?
So you asked me earlier if I felt like the realistic Batman in this movie had the same problems that the Christopher Nolan Batman did. With tackling the absurdity of Batman. Because the fact that a guy dressing up in a bat costume and going out at night and fighting crime is ridiculous. 100%. Like, if you were to hear about that on the news for real, you would think that that guy was mentally ill. You would think that there was something wrong with that person. And you would not find this person as a beacon of hope for us to rally behind. We would be, mostly laughing at the guy. And somewhat, if he started to make more headway, we might be a little scared. But we would not be like, yes, this is the symbol that this town needs. Or
it reminds me of like, you ever watch that episode of Hey Arnold whenever Arnold learns karate?
Yeah.
And then
I was just asking
just for the bus stop.
Yeah. I think that this movie hits it, though. I think that this movie does actually tackle it well because we see that this guy isn't really being respected by the police force, or even like not even respected, but he's kind of taken as somewhat of a you're like, Gordon, you're really letting this guy near the crime scene.
When they call this guy a freak in this movie, it seems like they really mean it, not just like it's a line. Because I feel like the term freak is vastly overused in any superhero movie or having like anything like that. So I feel like, but in this movie, whenever they call him a freak, I'm like, I think they really think he's a freak.
But you know what? To that point, he kind of is a freak.
He kind of is a freak in this movie.
Kind of is a freak. He's definitely unhinged. I think that in addition to that, I think we get to see the growing pains that this Batman is going through that are objectively absurd and objectively hilarious, like him learning how to use the wingsuit in real time.
Yeah.
And how that kind of plays out. That's another one of my favorite scenes in the film. And I was laughing during it too. I hope it was meant to be funny because I took it as funny whenever he, his coat his
and I
cape
laugh
gets stuck.
at weird things in movies. Like whenever we watched
Sherlock Holmes.
We
were the only people laughing at it.
Cracking up.
It was funny.
The part with the violin, and it was funny, but people just don't have terrible senses of humor.
So I think that in allowing them to kind of go this route and embrace that strangeness of Batman, and Robert Pattinson actually, when his agent went to him with the hey, they want you to come in for this, they want you to come in for the Batman, he said, yeah, 100%, I want to do it. And his agent responded, we didn't think you'd go for this. You only want to do like freaks and weirdos and stuff. And his response was, he is a weirdo. He is a freak, Robert Pattinson gets the character 100%. He knows, like, I don't know if he was a fan prior to the comics. I'm assuming that he is from the way that he talks, but who knows? He could have, they've been making this movie for a long time. It got delayed because of COVID. He could have just become an expert on it in the last few years since, getting the part. But he seems to know the character pretty well inside and out.
He actually said he used like the message boards a bunch of message boards to help inform his character.
And I felt like everybody involved in the film knew the source material well, and that you know the Bryan Singer line. Apparently Bryan Singer was insistent that when he was making the first X-Men movie, they weren't making a comic book movie.
Yeah,
he banned X-Men comics from the set. Even I don't feel like there was even a remote hint of any type of prima donna crap like that on this set.
I have mixed feelings about that.
I feel like they were embracing comic books, and this is probably the most comic accurate interpretation that we've seen so far.
It was a different era. It was just a different time, I think. I feel like that was something that needed to happen so that, because there were Batman movies that had came out before the X-Men movie came out, but they were not, you couldn't really take them seriously. Not the way that you could take the first X-Men movie seriously. And so there had to be, I think that nowadays, with what Christopher Nolan did, you could, read the comics to inform the characters, but...
Well, then with this transition back to a more embrace of the comic book version of Batman, because the Dark Knight trilogy says that it's inspired by The Long Halloween. Don't know if you've read The Long Halloween. It is very much a... it's probably... Like, there are two halves of The Long Halloween.
I started watching it on HBO Max.
It's actually a pretty good interpretation. At least part one is. I haven't seen part two yet, but I have it on my shelf. I bought it. I bought the Steelbook from Best Buy. I have it on my shelf. I haven't watched it yet. But The Long Halloween has a very serious Godfather-esque crime story on one side with a bunch of villains shoehorned. Like, the way that it was originally published was each month was the next issue in the story. A killer who kills on holidays. And the mystery surrounding it. We get to see Harvey Dent and his eventual transition into Two-Face, which plays out way better over an extended length of, a year-long comic book storyline than the last, 30 minutes hour of Dark Knight, the Dark Knight. But the Nolan... the Nolan trilogy, you can definitely see those pieces in there. You can see the more serious, super villainy pieces in there, the regular, Godfather stuff. But with this one, when he says it's based on The Long Halloween, when Reeves says it's based on Ego and Year One, I can see it. It's not just loose interpretation. There are scenes that feel like it's pulled directly from it, not just from those books, but from like Scott Snyder's runs and a lot of different writers who have had their impact on Batman. The cool thing about getting more invested in the character, because now I have a bookshelf filled with Batman graphic novels and collected volumes, is getting to see at the very end, whenever they say special thanks to this person, this person, this person, this person, and this person, all these different comic book people who had worked on Batman over the years, I can actually see, where this influence was. And to a comic fan, this movie was a dream. And but my question, whenever you say that we had to go from, X-Men's more serious, non-comic booky comic book movie, how did we get back to here? Do we have the MCU to thank for that? Because Christopher Nolan's trilogy, while it may have been based on The Long Halloween, is still very firmly in that camp of we're making non-superhero superhero movies.
I think it's just kind of one of those things that come full circle and showing what people actually want to watch.
It's the MCU. I think the MCU did it.
Explain. Okay, let me tell you why I'm saying explain, because there's nothing there's not a movie. I'll die on the movie hill because season 3 of Daredevil is fantastic filmmaking. I've said that before. I don't think there's a movie in the MCU that has any kind of depth remotely close to what the Batman achieved.
I'm talking about our embrace specifically of the comic book source material, though.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I guess maybe.
Because
The MCU did a good job at refining that marriage between kind of a realistic, less campy take, but still something that's comic accurate.
yeah, because we actually get to see, you know, Captain America's blue suit and everything like that, and we get to see, even though the Winter Soldier has probably my favorite version of that suit, which is a lot darker and more understated.
Yeah. His stealth suit.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm a big fan of his
First Avengers
suit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Super
the war
big
suit.
fan of the yeah.
Um,
I'm really glad it came back in the Winter Soldier.
I think we need to start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts on the Batman.
Final thoughts on the Batman. I guess my final thought on it is if you watch the movie and you're attributing actions by groups or characters in the movie to people that you already tend to vilify in real life, you need to watch it again and look at what everybody's doing. And look at the people who change course. How did they change course and why? Because there's been a few videos that I've watched on it, people kind of doing their own breakdowns, and they attribute, say, like the Riddler's henchmen to being akin to a group in real life. It doesn't work, for one, because of who these people target. They target everybody. But that's actually not, there's not a lot of value to be had there. Where the value is to be had and what the movie's trying to get across is in the actions that they take and how they take them and why, their motivations for taking them. So I think if it's really useful to view the movie. I really love the movie because of it just goes so hard into the ideas that it wants to work out. And I really like it. You've seen Honey Boy?
No.
I really loved Honey Boy. It's about Shia LaBeouf's childhood. And you get a sense when you're watching the movie that he wrote the movie trying to figure out his ideas of what he thinks about his childhood and what he thinks about how he grew up and what he thinks about his father. I feel like Matt Reeves also he made an amazing Batman movie, and I felt like he knew he was going to do that, but it also seems as though as he was writing this movie, he was working out the metaphysical details of his beliefs behind the ideas that are portrayed in the movie, and I really love the movie for that. I think it's such a good film. Final thoughts.
My final thoughts?
Yeah.
I want to see it again and again and again and again. I'm ready for this thing to be out already. Hey, before I do my final thoughts, Ariel says, our Pat was sexy and mentally deranged as I think Batman should be. I think we can all agree with that. Will you drink to that? You drink into that. Perfect.
Yeah. I'll drink to that.
What billionaire is going to become a vigilante to avenge his parents versus doing literally anything else?
If you want to get insight to a billionaire's mindset, a real life billionaire's mindset, listen to Alex Hermosi on YouTube.
Is he a billionaire?
He is a billionaire. Well, no, he's aiming to be a billionaire, but he talks to a lot of billionaires.
Interesting. I think my biggest draw, my biggest enjoyment of the Batman, I've already touched on. I've already discussed how much I enjoy watching it from a fan of the comic book series perspective. I feel like there is a lot of room for growth in this particular world. I have enjoyed the MCU in the past. I am slowly and cautiously sticking around for the time being in it just to see what happens next. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But from watching the Batman, this is the first movie that I've seen in a while that I'm actually really looking forward to the potential of seeing more from this universe, more from this world. I think Gotham is a fully realized its own little breathing character within the film itself, which is
This is
something.
probably my favorite Gotham.
Yeah,
My second
something I
favorite
haven't
Gotham
seen.
is Batman Forever.
Yeah, I do like
I
that
like
kind
that
of neo,
Gotham.
that
They're just
like
crazy,
neon
colorful
world, and
neon world. Yeah.
Batman Forever is not a bad movie. It deserves
Yeah.
a second chance. It's not a great movie. There are pieces of brilliance in it, though. But with this film, I mean, we are gonna. I think we've already for sure getting more. I think we're already getting a sequel,
And we might be likely to get a Joker sequel. Very excited about that.
I am cautiously optimistic about that one as well. And regarding what you said, I think anybody can find a parallel to anything in reality. I think if you watch something and you have your own biases or your own opinions on it, you're going to pull that you're going to find the subtext that you want out of it. I think that, whatever you watch, people watch Joker and they get, they see the villains in that film as the opposite side. I've heard people make arguments for both, potential societal, stand-ins that we currently have in reality to fit the characters that are currently, burning the city down at the end of the film. I think that that's actually a testament to a good film, to a good story, that if you can actually sympathize, or if that you can actually see the characters, and if they reflect to you something like that, and it shows how universal it actually is. And I agree. I think that when it comes right down to it, see what's trying to be done, and see what story they're trying to tell. Because yes, Batman has been criticized for being too woke. The Batman has been criticized for being super woke. Yeah, it really has. Because of one throwaway line that Catwoman, who by any rights would say this, blames rich white guys for ruining the city. She specifically says that. Says the film's too woke. There's literally a scene where we get all the police, like the good police officers in Gotham, getting their hero moment in the film. But it's too woke. I think that this isn't really a movie that you can just say is like particularly one side versus the other, which, unlike the Dark Knight trilogy, which is absolutely a conservative's wet dream, but it's all Patriot Act. But this film, I think, is just more intent with telling a good story. I think, to your point, that's what he's trying to do. That's what Matt Reeves wanted to do. And I think that...
Well, it's the kind of story that definitely stands the test of time, because it throws out all of the, let's say, relevant details for the world we're currently living in. And it chooses to more tell a story heavily focused on just the ideas that he wants to think about, and which I really appreciate when a filmmaker does.
Do you think, and this is the big question, the final question that we'll end on, do you think that the Batman is award worthy? Do you think that it should be up for Best Picture nomination next year? Do you think, now two-part, I guess. So, do you think it should be? Do you think it will be?
I don't think it will be, and I don't think it should be.
Really?
I hate the Oscars. You're probably asking the wrong person, because I hate the Oscars.
Okay, well then SAG and WAG.
I think it needs to win where the winning actually matters, which is in the box office, in the numbers.
Okay, so do you think that it should do $1 billion?
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be hard to do $1 billion in the current climate?
If Russia did not invade Ukraine, it probably would have been a lot easier for the movie to do $1 billion.
It hasn't released in China yet, has it?
I don't know.
I think it's getting to that point. And supposedly, once it does, it'll have a good boost. I think we're sitting at like a little over 400 million right now. Maybe we're over that. That was like
I would love for the movie to hit $1 billion. I think that's the only metric that really matters.
It's a bummer.
Okay, I take that back. It's not the only metric that really matters. But for a movie that is this big with this many eyes on it, I think it matters.
It's a bummer that comparatively that the not Into the Spider-Verse, that No Way Home has, it holds the top spot for box office.
No Way
Home
Home
since the pandemic
sucks. That movie sucks.
I don't think it sucks. I think it's a fun movie. But it's one devoid of any actual
the first act
art or character.
Sucks.
Basically, it gets good once Andrew Garfield shows up,
Once
and then
Andrew
Tobey
Garfield
Maguire.
and Tobey Maguire show up, the film does a major turnaround. But up until that point,
Maybe it's a good thing that Andrew Garfield didn't get a third Spider-Man movie, because the third one of Tobey Maguire's and Tom Holland's have not been the best in their series.
okay, I just don't like any of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Really,
Really?
I really loved Michael Keaton as the Vulture, and I can barely. I'm just a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I know. I know you are.
I am. Nightcrawler is like one of my all-time favorite movies. It's just that I don't know what it is. I can't stand Tom Holland. Everybody thinks he's such a sweetheart and he's so adorable. I just want to punch him. I don't know what it is.
Mad Jelly. You got Mad Gel?
I don't think so, actually. I was telling Melissa a couple of days ago, if I had died right now, I'm probably going to be as happy as I'll ever be. Pretty much have everything I want already. So I don't think I'm jealous. Maybe I am, but I don't think I am. Who's to say? But he just has one of those faces, and I really hate. Okay, to be fair, I really loved him in The Devil All the Time. I thought he was great in that movie.
Have you seen Uncharted yet?
No, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't want to watch Marky Mark and one of the my least favorite actors and it's on a screen for 3 hours.
2.
2 what? 2 hours?
Yeah, like 2.5.
See, I was listening to Jeremy
It's
Johns,
okay.
and he was talking about
It's okay.
Welcome to Raccoon City, and he
gotta
was
watch
saying
that
that
still.
we've come to a point where graphics in video games are so good, the cutscenes are basically just movies, and we don't need movies of these games anymore, which I found really interesting and intriguing, because if you watch all the cutscenes from Star Wars, The Old Republic, or the MMO, the current MMO Star Wars game, if you watch those cutscenes, it's better storytelling than anything we got in the sequel trilogies.
Have you played Uncharted?
No.
Any of them?
I've heard it's tons of fun, and I'm sure it is.
It is
And I'm
tons
a
of
big
fun.
fan of Nathan Fillion's little
movie.
fan film that he did.
So the best part of the Uncharted movie is when Nolan North, who's the voice of Nathan Drake, has a cameo appearance. But
Is
it's
he
like
really?
it's like a super on the nose Stan Lee style cameo, but like the kind where
That's kind of funny.
like the kind where Stan Lee actually says like something so ridiculous and devoid of any actual real human dialogue. Like whenever we're in Venom and he's like, "Don't you give up, you two," whenever he's talking to Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And it's like, we know it's Stan Lee. We're not going to pretend it's not Stan Lee. This is Stan Lee, you know? And we're just going to let Stan Lee do whatever the hell he wants in this scene. That's kind of like how Nolan North's thing, that there's this moment where Tom Holland and I forget the girl's name who plays Chloe Fraser fall out of a plane and land in the ocean, and they have to swim to like this resort, this beach resort. And when they get out of the water, Nolan North looks at them. He's all like, he's just a tourist, like some random American tourist in this town. And he's like, "What happened to you?" And Tom Holland says, "Oh, we had to jump out of a plane." It's like, the same thing happened to me one time. Good luck, you two. And I'm over here punching my 5-year-old in the arm as I see Nolan. There's Nathan Drake on the screen.
That's hilarious.
Best part of the film. On the nose.
Wait, so did you like the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not great. I know it's not a great movie, and it's not an Uncharted movie. I think it's hilarious. The funniest thing that happened in the entire film is that they got somebody to actually play a 15-year-old version of Tom Holland instead of just getting Tom Holland to do it. But they're trying to make him be an adult in this film. He's not a little boy in this one, even though he looks like a little boy in this movie.
That's probably what it is. He just perpetually looks kind of like Maisie Williams. Someone said that she looks like a really young grandma.
We gotta ask
Kind of like the reverse.
why you want to punch a little boy in the face so badly. Then.
I don't know. Being a father does that to you.
All right. So we've gone over our final thoughts. Yeah, Uncharted. Go see the Batman.
Go see the Batman. What did you think about the Batman? Let us know in the comments to our, if you're one of our 29 amazing subscribers. Let us know in the comments what you thought about the Batman, what you thought Matt Reeves was trying to accomplish thematically, and what do you think we should do for our next episode?
Yes, The Sandlot.
I agree. Sandlot?
No, but
What if we...
I'm looking at posters. Into the
Okay.
Spider-Verse.
Let's talk about Spider-Man v Eternals.
Okay. What? No Way Home v Eternals?
No Way Home v Eternals.
Eternals is a better movie.
Okay, I don't know if I agree with you. However, except for like the third act, I probably prefer the Eternals. And I was looking forward to just trash the movie.
Eternals?
Yes.
I know you were.
I was looking forward to just
about it on the
trashing it. I really was. There was nothing there that it looked like for me. However, it did a lot of really great things. It did a lot of like really terrible things.
Had our first sex scene in a Marvel film, MCU film.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
It was awkward.
It was awkward. It's like that scene on Game of Thrones with Maisie Williams. Nobody wanted that. The memes were hilarious.
I'm glad I stopped watching this show before that season.
So real quick, I picked it back up. I gave up on the show. I picked
Game
it
of
back
Thrones?
up. Yes, in like season 3 maybe. I was like, this kind of sucks. I'm over it. After the Viper died, I was like, okay, I'm kind of
Oberyn?
over it.
It's Oberyn, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
After he died, I was like, I'm kind of over it. I don't think I'm gonna watch it anymore. This show kind of just sucks. And then a bunch of coworkers watched it, and that's all they talked about. So I was like, okay, to fit in, I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. And then I was 100% back on board during the episode whenever the Night King raises up all those people from the dead. And then it's just the episode ends in silence. I was 100% back on board. I really like the following seasons, and then season 8. Everybody knows we don't need to rehash, but
We don't talk about season 8.
we don't talk about season 8. No. And I guess we'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us.
Go see the Batman.
Go see the Batman.
Help it